Welcome, No Timeouts family. We have an amazing guest for you guys today. She's covered basketball from all levels. She's a baller in her own right. Bring some noise. Everybody get excited. We have Ros Gold-Onwude. Ros, thank you so much for joining me and Marcel. Marcel's still getting the crowd hype, but we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you guys. I'm so happy to see you. I miss you all. And I just want to say, like, I'm actually like an OG No Timeouts fan. Like, when this started up, I've been loving the show, you guys' chemistry together, the back and forth, the jokes. So I'm just really kind of gassed right now to be on.
That means so much to us. Thank you so much. And she's not lying. She's been OG status from day one.
Holding us down, okay? So y'all get the plan. So for Ros, you know, we just want to know, how have you been during everything that's been going on with the pandemic?
I'm doing well overall. I think, you know, worldwide, this is an up and down type of situation. There's some good in that we can take some time to reflect, perhaps just relax or be with family, spend more time that way. But I would definitely admit that there's up and down days because of kind of not knowing what's coming next, or people are really getting sick or suffering and dying. And for everybody who is hurting through this, like, I give my deepest sympathies. I know in my family, we've been affected by coronavirus, and it has been very hard for us. But I would say on the upside, you know, things that keep me busy and excited is like creating content. And I've low-key been able to create a voice for myself that maybe I wouldn't have had without the pandemic, that I wouldn't have thought to push for. So it's a mixed bag, and I imagine for many people it's like that as well.
Yeah, well, talking about content that you've been creating for yourself, we just had the WNBA draft held virtually, and it was the most viewed WNBA draft in 16 years. So shout out to the W, and they did an amazing job. Will you talk about how you got to work with the Liberty in that experience and your hosting?
Yeah, well, New York Liberty has been my family for a minute. First of all, I'm from Queens, New York. So like literally the league started. Some New York fans. So like literally the league started. I remember my mom got me a Lobo jersey. I remember the energy around like the New York Liberty. And then eventually I actually became their color commentator and analyst for like 6 years. And I got obviously very familiar with the organization and fan base. So now I've been removed a couple years, and they brought me back to host the New York Liberty virtual draft party, watch party. And it was a huge day for the Liberty because they have the #1 draft pick, which eventually became Sabrina Ionescu. But that same day, I mean, that was just kind of where my energy was centered for the day of the WNBA draft, this huge celebration for the New York Liberty, 6 draft picks, including the #1 pick. But overall, it was a celebration for the WNBA. And I think we saw such a success in viewership, in attention, and the way it was talked about, how it was trending on social media. I think one, you put it on ESPN and give it that kind of level of attention, people will respect it and people will tune in. You have to give it a chance to be visible. And then I'd love to, you know, the WNBA committing to this draft. They could have changed the date or done it a different way, but they decided to celebrate these excellent women and give them this special moment to publicly be celebrated for the hard work they've put in. And I also think this was an important WNBA draft because now the NFL draft is right on its heels. And so all eyes were on the WNBA basically to see how this virtual draft would go. And it was a major success. I mean, from the way they celebrated and broke down the players to like having Vanessa Bryant on and having a tribute,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
things like that had storytelling, and it was very hard to do with different computers and locations. I mean, that was hard to figure out. So kudos to the WNBA and ESPN for putting that on so well. And then of course, you know, all eyes were on because we're also at home. So it was a lot of pressure to get this right, and the WNBA did it.
Yeah, and I think like if you're talking about how good certain leagues operate, we've seen that the NBA has done such a good job of doing different events, and to see the WNBA and Commissioner Kathy Engelberg like really showing how strong the league is and how she wants to take things to the next level. And with the CBA, it just feels like the WNBA has some really good momentum right now for progressing and being more on a larger scale for people to really embrace.
Absolutely. Like first, I'd love to tip my hat to Kathy Engelberg because, and it's funny, the NBA also has a great commissioner in Adam Silver. I think the leadership of the NBA and WNBA are kind of moving in strides together. But with Commissioner Kathy, I feel like she came in and had a hard task. Like she literally came in and was handed a public media storm on how are these women being treated? How are they being paid? How are they traveling? And she had to navigate the PR of that, and then also the legal issues and the actual legislation of creating a new CBA that would be agreed upon and avoiding, you know, a lockout or something. So she did that successfully. I think it was very player friendly, and I think it was very woman friendly. Maternity leave paid fully, travel conditions improved. Of course, the money went up. I think that was a win for Kathy and the WNBA. And then more tip of hat to Kathy, you know, you look at the WNBA draft and how she handled herself there and how it was a success. So these were major moments for the league, and I think for how we're going to reflect on Kathy at this early point of her time with the W. And like, I mean, I could definitely tell you too, the number one draft pick, Sabrina Ionescu, is someone. This is more than just any number one draft pick. Like, tell me what you know about Sabrina, guys, because
she's a twin. Naismith Player of the Year, AP Player of the Year, NCAA triple-double leader all time in male and female.
And everybody vouches for her. Like,
she's a star.
Yeah,
she's a star. Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry.
Kobe.
LeBron James. Kobe's her mentor. Like, and she's been able to handle the celebrity and the responsibility that comes with that with poise beyond her years. I think she's the perfect demeanor of someone to enter the New York market as the number one pick for the Liberty, a franchise that has huge expectations as they head to the Barclays Center to play all their games in Brooklyn, and new ownership, and has a rich heritage behind them. There's hunger in New York for a good player, and there's going to be a lot on her shoulders. It's going to be a tough learning curve for a point guard, but she's a player that, as far as her selling power, can really help not only the Liberty, but the WNBA as a whole.
Talk to us about some of your new projects. You have Boardroom, you have WID. Like, talk to us a little bit about what you're creating.
You know, again, this is one of the few benefits, I guess, of coronavirus and COVID-19 is that I've just decided I want to stay nimble and thrifty and creative and productive and, you know, keep a voice alive during this. And it started off with, I just want to do a few interviews. And then I was like, no, but I really want to bring joy. I felt like when I first did my first interview, I felt like everybody was talking about Corona, and it was, it's a downer, you know, and I think we all understand every single day. I know for me, I have daily anxiety kind of hanging over me with all this, and I have to kind of wake up each morning and reframe my day just to get me through it. And so I was like, I don't want to do Corona talk. I'm a very smiley, happy person. I want to bring joy. I want to have fun. So I thought, what could I do with the support of ESPN? And I created kind of pitched a show idea just for the pandemic called WYD, what you doing? It's kind of how people text each other, like, what you doing? Right. And so it's basically, I book all my own interviews. It's just people that I already enjoy or like have a good relationship with, or even if I don't necessarily, we're not like homies, but I've enjoyed getting to know them over the course of my NBA career, where they have a great voice themselves. I'm going with low-hanging fruit, great, you know, so that the interview feels comfortable. And What You Doing is about telling stories and then doing challenges and games. And it's really basically like a video call, like a Zoom or a WebEx, whatever you use. And the editing team is phenomenal. They make it look like more than what it really was. And it's been really fun. And actually, I've really enjoyed kind of seeing it develop from episode to episode. So far, we've had Serge Ibaka on to start. We just put out the Lou Williams episode. Coming up next, actually today, we're dropping Victor Oladipo. I just taped DeMar DeRozan, and we're gonna keep going. And it's been cool. And like, for right now, it's been a fun project, but you never know if something you start has legs later. So it's been a lot of fun in that way, and I'm enjoying that. Then the other kind of side of my content that I'm putting out is I've joined forces with The Boardroom, which it's from Rich Kleiman and Kevin Durant. Basically, they have their own platform amongst many of the cool things they're doing. They have The Boardroom, and one of the other voices and faces you've probably seen is Jay Williams. I've just officially joined as like their new face and new member of the team. Yay!
That's awesome.
Thank you. And that actually was in the works for a while. But obviously with Corona, it kind of shook up what we were going to start with and how we were going to announce it. We were just like, all right, well, we're doing digital interviews. And that is a very different seat for me that I enjoy, because the focus there is a sports conversation centered around business, tech, journeys, things like that. And the conversation steers a little bit more serious, and it gives me a different lane and versatility to sit in with those interviews. And like, so for instance, today we just interviewed Nick Nurse. We had Sabrina Ionescu on, Danilo Gallinari, Chris Godwin. I'm trying to think. We had Love and Basketball. Gina Prince-Bythewood came on for the 20th anniversary.
Okay. I talked about the deleted scene then with Tyra Banks. I did see that.
I appreciate you checking out my content.
You know.
Watching you. We support you.
Support you.
So yeah, that's kind of my two lanes right now, and they're very separate lanes. What You're Doing is more like fun and challenges and stories, and The Boardroom is more about business, tech, and journeys. And so I feel like it's a very separate space to be in for both. The hardest part is when I'm booking my interviews, it's basically people I already know, and I'm just trying to decide who do I funnel this way and who would be better in this one. That's the hardest choice.
But I think one thing that I've really appreciated about you is that you've always tried to keep yourself very diverse and not to fall into one lane. Because like even with whatever basketball, NBA stuff you're doing, you always stay cool with like Pac-10 stuff, making sure that you're staying involved in like NCAA basketball. And then you're always making sure that you're staying involved in WNBA. So it feels like it's not, oh, Ros just does this one thing. And I think we had talked about, when you first joined ESPN, like adding in, having some football conversations. It just helps you broaden like your base of what you can do. And through all of that, what have you seen from yourself that you didn't know you really had in you?
Well, I would definitely say having the opportunity to host First Take on ESPN and sit with literal, like a legend in Stephen A. and certainly Max Kellerman as well, and have the chance to fill in host for Molly Karam once a week, every week. It's not something I even ever imagined. The show always, who would imagine that? That show feels big.
Right.
I don't think I would ever imagine before the opportunity came that I would ever have host a show that visible or like be a part of something like that. Like I think it has been very exciting and humbling and thrilling. If I wasn't having a chance to host it, sometimes I look at Stephen A. or Max and I think, I would be watching this show. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting here right now. And, it really presented a new challenge for me because half the show at least is football. And when I started the filling in, obviously right now I'm not, as Corona has changed travel plans. And everybody, the main stars of the show are doing it from their homes right now. But when I first started doing the show, basketball season hadn't even started. Like, I was literally like, please, Lord, let LeBron tweet something so we can talk about some kind of basketball. Like, bail me out, LeBron. Like, help Kevin Durant, say something about the Warriors. But it's probably the newest and freshest challenge on my plate. The amount of studying I did I already covered football. I used to cover Stanford football. I used to have a role with the 49ers in the beginning of my career. Like, I understand the game. But my career has really centered around basketball for the most part. So to make sure I'm not sitting on this big stage and embarrassing myself, having a stupid question or not understanding what the storyline is for this big player, I mean, I really put in the time. I called friends who were experts on this, fellow broadcasters. I watched videos. I read. I had a notebook full of notes, like, on each player, their story, because I had some catching up to do. You know, like, I could tell you about Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? But I might not have known the learning curve of Chris Godwin's. You know what I'm saying? Like, who just had a breakout year. I can do that in the NBA. I can tell you who's up and coming. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a beautiful challenge, and it has opened me up to say, like, I can do multiple things. And the last thing I'll say about your question, it's a good one, Morgan. I still feel like I'm blossoming in my career. I feel like there's a lot more for me to do. And I'm not sure yet how this story plays out. You know, like, I think in broadcasting, you might be someone who works for just one network and does one job your whole career, and that's glorious. You also might be somebody who, for the whole career, has a whole bunch of different networks they're piecing together and kind of puts together a palette of things that they do. And I've been in both situations multiple times throughout my career. I've been a full-time sideline reporter for a team. I've worked just for one network. I've been just one role. I've also, like, had 10 jobs at the same time. And right now I'm juggling a lot of jobs at the same time. But I think the key for me is I love basketball. I care about women's basketball. That's why I've fought, even when I had a full-time national job, to keep the Pac-12. I like to keep my voice. So that's another reason why I keep the analyst role and color commentary. People be like, oh, you're doing sideline on NBA games. Why do you do women's college basketball? Because I love women's, and I like to sit down and break the game. I can offer more than 3 questions. No shade to the questions, but I just have a lot within me that I feel like I want to fulfill and share on a basketball level. So I would just say, no matter what situation I've been in, what I check in with is, am I having fun? Am I being good at the craft and doing it justice? And do I feel fulfilled in it? And I can say at every point in my career, whatever that was, it certainly felt like it. It certainly feels like that right now.
You got The Last Dance airing. Everyone's glued to their seats about, you know, the Bulls dynasty. But you were a part of a major dynasty in the NBA, starting off with the Warriors. I believe you came in when Steve Kerr came in. So please talk about that and, you know, the roles. How was the locker room when Mark Jackson was gone and Steve Kerr, you know, came in and stuff like that?
Ooh, I watched the MJ doc and think about stuff like that. Like, I think, like, boy, I was around for an era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to see greats play, and I don't even, you know, sometimes I think I was aware at the time that this was special, but it continues to grow in its lore and legacy as it goes on. So I've really appreciated watching the MJ doc. I do think that the lack of social media and access that we had to those Bulls and to Michael Jordan, it was Steve Kerr, I think, that said, don't quote me on that, but someone said it was like there was a certain mysticism about those stars in a like they were larger than life, like the way I think of like Michael Jackson at that time, or you know, Michael Jordan. Like I the closest I think, and I thought about it during the doc, that I think I experienced to what might have been with the Bulls was that 73-9 season. Oh God, it was crazy. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, when they went on that, I think it was like 24 games win streak in that season. and Luke Walton was coaching for Steve Kerr, who was out at the time. The road trip was wild. We went on this long road trip. Oh my God, it was like the Beatles. It was like Beyonce. It was like the arenas were more packed for the Warriors and the other team. The road games were the best because they cheered for Steph and did MVP chants like it was a home game. And Steph was wilding. Steph was hitting like shots from half court with just every, like 3 of them a game, like just crazy mind-blowing shots from deep that would like end at the end of a half or win the game. Like it was just like every game had like this wild moment. And even when it was a blowout, it was thrilling because the basketball was so beautiful. And every game would be on the road in the hallways after, the mob, the scrum for the media, waiting to talk with the players or the coaches. To this day, I haven't seen nothing like it. I remember while we were there, someone compared it to Linsanity with the Knicks, with how many people were there for Jeremy Lin. But I mean, I'm saying like 100 deep. You know, a scrum on the regular in the NBA could be like 8 people. You know, like it was like 100 deep. If you didn't get there early, you wasn't hearing nothing. And outside the scrum, in every arena on the road, I promise, celebrities, football players, singers, artists. That's actually how I met Drake. It was outside. No, I'm serious. It was outside. They were on a road trip in Toronto, and I had because I had finished the interview, and I head to the locker room, and Luke Walton was doing an interview, and the hallway there was tight, and it was so busy they had to bring it out the locker room, put it outside, you know, where there could get more people. And I got there and I was like, I can't even hear it or see it. It's so far away. Like, I'm not. So I actually saw Drake standing alone in the hallway, and probably because, you know, people knew not to mess with him or bother him. And I thought to myself, like, yo, like maybe I should try to talk to Drake and ask him about Steph, because at the time they had this really close relationship. And so I was like, maybe I could get a quote about Steph, like from him, and that could be a cool angle to take. And I was like, you know, what's the worst that could happen? He'd be like, maybe he'd be like, no, or I'd get shooed away by his security. But, you know, I think in reporting, you have to go for it. You have to shoot your shot. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, you know, I'm Ros. And he was like, no, I know who you are. I was like, and you know, that's how much of a basketball fan Drake is. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I was like, oh, okay, great. Well, I'm the Warrior silent reporter. He was like, no, baby girl, I know exactly who you are, and I've been waiting to meet you all night. And so I was like, oh, cool. And then he absolutely was so gracious, gave me a wonderful quote about Steph, and honestly, not even a quote, like just a conversation about, you know, what he admires in Steph and what he sees as parallels between them. So, you know, like, so I tell that story to say, like, these are the levels of rock stars that were just waiting outside the locker room to meet the Warriors. And there's 1,000 great stories I could tell you, but not only were the Warriors excellent at the game, but they were great people, and they still are. I mean, they still are all around. They're such great people, the family, and I'll never forget the team dinners during that run, and how people would stay late into the night, like till 2 a.m. Family members, moms, you know, uncles, friends, team staff, you know, just enjoying each other's company, enjoying this ride. And those Warriors took everyone with them. I'm so thankful for the blessing of kind of catching that team and being there to witness that.
If you can give a timeout to anyone or anything, what would it be? And the timeout's like, yo, you need to take 30 seconds, think about what you're doing. What's going on?
I'm about to give a timeout to my home cooking adventures during this time. It's not that I can't cook, it's that I'm tired of my cooking. Like, it's been almost a month. I want to go to Catch. I want to have a mojito with my girlfriends. Like, I am tired of, I have like 4 recipes that I've made variations of. Like, I cannot bake teriyaki salmon and some kind of like sauteed vegetable anymore. I'm going to throw up. I've had enough.
The salmon's your go-to?
I do like a baked chicken, a teriyaki salmon. I do, you know, a bunch of vegetable medleys. I I tried to stay away from carbs, but of course I can like make a baked macaroni and cheese or a pasta or rice. I've done rice, but like it all just feels so boring. The other night I cooked, at first it was very exciting. The first week, Morgan, I think you've seen it. The first week I was cooking meals in my house and posting pictures to my Instagram stories, like, look at Rona Ros, Chef Rona Ros. I'm out here cooking, tell your friends I'm domestic. It was like fun. I was like, oh my God, look at me. I love my domestic life. Now we're in week like 3.5 or 4. I don't know where we are anymore. And I literally like maybe a few days ago cooked a meal, looked at it, and just threw the whole thing out after I looked at it and smelled it. Nothing about it made me hungry. And
I'm with you 1,000%. I started now I do takeout like once a week just to feel like I'm doing better. Like,
yeah. And you know, it's funny, I've heard a lot of people say, it's like we all got fed up at the same time.
It sound real cute, like, oh, now I can work on this cookbook and Chrissy Teigen, I can try out some recipes and da-da. First of all that stuff costs a lot of money because I don't just have all those things in my pantry. So I'm like, I'm not buying 7 different spices for this one meal because I decided to be adventurous today.
Right, facts. And you know, I'm traveling so much too that like before it didn't even matter. You know, I could barely keep things in my fridge that would stay long. So I would prepare for one night. Now I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna get some ground beef and I could probably start off with hamburgers to start. If I have leftover hamburgers, I can crumble it and use it in my omelet in the morning and probably for spaghetti at night. If I make enough spaghetti, I can carry that over for 2 days. It's like, how can I make this package of beef work all week?
I feel you on like the deepest level.
Yes.
Deepest level.
Thank you, sis.
Oh, y'all.
Was you not cooking, Marcel?
I dabble in the kitchen. I got my go-to salmon and asparagus and rice and
we all do the same thing.
Casserole, turkey casserole. A lot of Uber Eats though. My Uber Eats is going crazy right now. It's booming. Like I need to chill out, honestly, on the Uber Eats.
I actually I deleted my Postmates and Uber Eats because I felt that it was putting me in a bad position. Like I was only ordering late at night and crap food. So I deleted it and like felt really righteous for like a week and then put it back on. It's like that's part of this. Like I don't have any answers for you. Like my method changes from week to week and I'm just taking it day by day, trying to like reframe my gratitude, my positivity, and like also accept that like things hurt, I'm confused, like I have angst and anxiety. It's a lot. This is an odd time, to say the least.
With you, girl. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Ros, thank you so much for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you. And we're just going to keep watching you. You're one of our favorites. So keep doing you, girl.
Keep killing it, Ros.
Thank you, guys. I'm watching you as well. So keep pushing. No timeouts. Big fan here. And I love you guys. So hopefully reunion.
Some of my music, though. Like, let's get it. Man.
I'm trying to plug right now.
Oh, right. We did not talk about this in the production meeting.
Yeah. Send that my way.
Wow. So you know what? For Morgann Mitchell, Marcel Bouie, and Ros Gold-Onwude, we just want to say thank you, guys, and stay safe.